Yeah, I'm going to try to present
Okay,
high
awesome.
risk maneuver here. Thanks everybody for having me. Bree, thanks for having me. Excited to talk with you guys about the Open Lineage project. Gonna see if I can share and use presenter view. So yeah, I'm going to talk briefly about the Open Lineage project, an LFAI and data project, and it's an open framework for data lineage collection and analysis. And let's see. One way we like to talk about data lineage in the Open Lineage community is in terms of Maslow's data hierarchy of needs. If you're familiar with this psychological concept, you might know that the idea is that for a human being, you need to have basic needs met before you can become self-actualized and really understand your place in the world and have a great life, achieve self-understanding. And too often in the data world, we're focused on just achieving basic functionality in our operations. But before you can really make use of data to transform your business, you need to be able to trust it. And that's where the open standard of OpenLineage comes in, the spec in OpenLineage. So this is the data world without the OpenLineage specification. Um, your tools can't really talk to one another, requiring a lot of reverse engineering and point-to-point discussion. And so changes in these tools will break your lineage. And the idea is that an open specification will bring order to the chaos. And there's more information on the website, of course, as always. The idea being that a shared language will remove friction, reduce duplicative effort, um, and, bring order to the chaos, as I said. Another, hopefully not too laborious metaphor is the Tower of Babel. If you're familiar with this myth, we're building a Tower of Babel. And if you remember that story, it was enabled by a universal language. It's the universal language that allowed humans to approach the perfection of the gods. But if we're thinking realistically, um, our Tower of Babel will never be complete either because the data landscape is always evolving. The best we can do is use our universal language to keep up as best we can. And that's the idea. So where does Open Lineage fit in? It's a protocol to send events, basically. Hopefully that's not too reductive, but multiple consumers can receive the events. In different formats, serving a variety of use cases. I just want to talk briefly about the specific solutions that OpenLineage can offer. So I want to group them in terms of governance and observability. In terms of governance, you can know which teams and organizations have access to PII at a company. You can know which tasks are modifying the critical data sets on your team. You can trace data inaccuracies. You can monitor data privacy and compliance requirements, whether they're being met or not. In terms of observability, you can identify the upstream and downstream data sets of columns using column lineage. You can identify the jobs that are failing or not performant. You can try to find out why a specific data transformation failed. Data freshness is something else you can monitor. You can identify bottlenecks, data redundancies, data access. So there are many solutions in governance and observability that are served by OpenLineage. Here are some of our integrations. Here are contributors. We're fortunate to be joined by a great group of creators and contributors, not only at open source projects, but at adopters around the world. And our core sponsor is Astronomer. Full disclosure, I'm employed by Astronomer. So that's some background about OpenLineage. I want to shift to the Airflow provider. When OpenLineage became an official Airflow provider, a first-class citizen, if you will, the experience of getting lineage from Airflow was dramatically improved. And I want to point out that with coming changes proposed in AIP 62, that experience will get even better. There are some compatibility things and options that you want to keep in mind, and they're here on this slide. You can selectively enable or disable lineage for DAGs, operators, and tasks. Don't know if you knew that or not. And we recommend using the Airflow config first, but environment variables also work. With AIP 62, we have some big improvements coming. So currently, OpenLineage in Airflow is limited to operators in which it's explicitly implemented. But the changes in 62 will add support for hooks. So in Python operator and custom operators, you could get automatic collection of canonically named data sets, for example. So big improvements coming, big advantages coming. So I mentioned explicitly implemented operators. So here's the list. We have an auto-generated list in the provider docs that's always up to date. So I'll also, reference that, but you can see there are a number. And if you want to get started, here's what the flow can look like in a Dockerized Airflow instance. And I'm going to shift to a quick demo if I have time in just a second, but it's very easy to configure. Once you install the handful of dependencies, all you need to do is set 2 environment variables in your Airflow config. And here's what they look like. Or if you're using the Astro CLI, here's what that looks like, because you don't have access to the Airflow config, I believe. So you'd want to put these in your .env. So it's as simple as that. If you don't define a namespace, I think it just goes to the default namespace in Marquez, for example. So speaking of Marquez, that's what I'm going to demo in just a second to show you some of the metadata that you can get from Airflow via OpenLineage. All you need to do is clone the project, verify that you have Docker running. You could use Kalima and Docker runtime, which is what I'm going to be using in just a second. Change directory into Marquez and just run the up script. The app listens on port 5000, and that's where it will ingest your events from Airflow automatically, and you can view them in the GUI on 3000. Those are all default settings, and most of those are configurable if you don't like them. So let me shift to, here we go. Okay. All right, so hopefully you can see this other screen. Okay, cool. So I've got a clean, brand new Marquez instance. I just used a Docker script to remove all the volumes. So there's nothing in here. And I've got a very simple ETL DAG here that's just creating some tables in a local Postgres database and then loading into S3. So we'll start with this one. Just going to run it really quick. And you can see the events coming to Marquez in the terminal. And as we shift over and refresh Marquez, we'll see that there's a new namespace in the dropdown. So we'll start with this one that we defined. This is a job namespace. And we have a visualization of our pipeline. Now, one difference between the graph that you get in Airflow is that we see our data sets as well, just out of the box with Marquez. But also, we have a range of metadata that populates in the detailed view. So we have an updated ad. We have data quality if you've enabled that by using a data quality facet. And we have some code here that is just displayed by Marquez. We also have schema and version history. So if I go back to my DAG and run it again, you'll see this update. I also want to show you just briefly that you might have noticed that multiple namespaces populated this view. That's because OpenLineage automatically generates a separate data set namespace. And so what you'll see is a separate view for your data sets. And we have our Postgres namespace here. And if the tool is supported with column lineage by OpenLineage, you have a view that shows you the specific data sets that are feeding each of the columns here. Column lineage currently, supported for Spark and Airflow in the case of SQL-based operators other than BigQuery. So if we go quickly back to Marquez, I have another DAG here in a separate Airflow instance using the Astro CLI that's modifying the same data sets in my open source Airflow instance. So I'm going to run this quickly and we'll see how the graph changes. Of course, I have to log in. See, once again, Marquez is receiving the events. We should have a new namespace here. So here's the pipeline from Astro. You can see that it's modifying the same data sets from the other one. And now if we go to the shared namespace, we can see that our insert DAG from the Astro CLI is visualized as also upstream of the same data sets in the other one. Hopefully I've showed you a way to quickly get started and take advantage of the metadata that's available from OpenLineage using Marquez, but other tools are also available to consume OpenLineage metadata. Thank you very much for allowing me to give this overview. And